forward resolutions presented by board members.
Yes. I'm approving the following language, asking for approval for the following language revisions for policy 808, food services, under the food service safety program section of the policy on pages 5 and 6, and to place the policy on 30-day public display. In order to ensure optimum food quality standards, the district shall adhere to the following shelf life standards. Frozen meats and cheeses, examples ground meat, the ground deli, sliced, shredded, etc., shall be limited to a shelf life not to exceed 1 year from the date of receipt. Pasteurized processed American cheese will be used or frozen for later use by the designated sell-by date. If frozen, the use shall be limited to cooking applications only and have an expanded shelf life not to exceed 6 months from the freezer transfer date. Dry goods, examples of the pasta, raisins, canned fruits, etc., shall be limited to a shelf life not to exceed any best by date or 1 year from the date of receipt if date marking guidance has not been designated.
So moved for the sole purpose of discussion.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Stubenford, second by Mr. Nola. Questions, comments?
A few questions. And Val will just kind of go over the same ones that we had discussed in the policy committee meeting. Do we have any data to back this up?
I'm just going to bring this up. We have discussed this ongoing since October, back and forth.
My question was, do we have any data to back this up?
Data as far as what, Chad?
As far as when we've presented these previously, administrators and individuals in our food service have presented specific data stating that the federal government states our policy is above and beyond more strict than any other district in the state, one that actually you voted against. So I'm wondering to change it from 3 years to 1 year if you have any data, because being in academia, I would hope that we evaluate all data and make a decision based off of science and based off of fact. And it clearly appears that that's not the case. So I was wondering if you have any data to support the 1 year claim as opposed to the 3 year claim that has been brought forward by the food service manager.
The data that I have received, I'm going to say it's in line with.
Do I have a copy of that?
No, I don't have a copy of
No,
them.
do I have a copy of that,
A copy of,
of the data that you have?
I don't have, what I'm
Do I
saying
have a
is,
copy of it, please?
I don't have it with me, John.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. What I'm concerned about, I'm worrying about Gateway. I'm not worrying about the other school districts. I'm worrying about we are presenting to Gateway for their students, and that's what I'm going on.
But we have no data to back that up.
No.
Okay. To your knowledge, does any other district in the state have a more stringent policy than we currently have in place?
As I said, I am concerned with Gateway.
And I think having the most stringent policy in the state addresses those concerns. So do you know of any other district that has a more stringent policy than the
No, I
three-year
don't,
policy?
Chad.
No, okay. And if we do this, I know at the policy committee meeting, we had the food service director, Martin, who's here, we can verify again, but he said we would lose money, right? Because this is, ultimately it's a business and they have to run and they have to make profit in order to stay in-house. So if this policy causes us to lose money, how would you fix that? So, right, the options are we raise taxes to make up the difference. We can cut employees, or we can cut another program in the district. So I was just wondering, since you're the one presenting this policy, which option you believe would be best?
First off, we don't know if we will be losing money. This is we're looking at for 1 year. We haven't tried it, so how do you know we're going to be losing money? I don't want to get into a debate. I'm just presenting this to the board for 30 days.
Martin,
So, wait,
if you would
I have
mind.
a question related to that. If we lose money, then Val, are you going to say that we should take from the reserve, and then if we lose money, we'll reevaluate the program and go back to a 3-year?
How do we know we're going to lose money?
We don't. I said, but if we do, what's your plan? Do you have a plan if we lose money? Is it to pull from reserve and then cancel it? What is the backup plan if it's not profitable for the district?
I believe it's going to be profitable. We just have to be on top of it. I don't think we're going to have to be pulling from any areas.
So, Angela, would you mind? I know we've gone through this before on I don't know, many occasions. It seems like almost a year now we've been going through this since Cheesegate. If we do a 1 year policy, we would in fact lose money and lose merchandise and not be able to take advantage of programs where we have significant savings. Is that an accurate statement?
yes, my expert opinion, states that we most definitely suffer a deficit with this sort of action.
Okay. So,
I start spinning the wheels as to how much of our inventory, our commodity inventory, once again, that we would have to remove from our shelves if this were to be enacted, and it's quite significant. Tens of thousands of dollars, and I'm not exaggerating.
okay. So if we,
Just did inventory last week, so it's very, at least I put it in the computer so the figures are pretty fresh.
okay, perfect, thank you. So Val, we now have the director of the food service department saying it's tens of thousands of dollars that will be lost, so we do know that actually. Again, I ask, how will we make up for that difference? Will we raise taxes, will we cut employees, or will we cut another program in the Gateway School District?
I don't believe we'll have to do any of it, Chad.
It's irrelevant what you think, and it's irrelevant what you believe. What we're looking for are facts.
Well, right now, I'm just asking this to be put on 30 days display. And then at our next meeting, we can vote on it, and if there could be further discussion, we can vote yes, we can vote no.
And I have a question on number 3. It says, dry goods, example, pasta, raisins, canned fruits. To me, canned items are not dry goods, so can you clarify, just so I know, because are we putting all canned foods on 1 year?
I think it's non-perishable items. We're gonna now make perishable after a year, I believe.
Do we use canned green beans? Do we use, what canned products do we use, Mr. Lorenzo? And are these included in the 1 year vow?
That language is examples given. We try to utilize frozen vegetables in our program for the most point. At the end of the year, for some of the commodities that may have been requested or have been canceled, and they're just offering you items that you didn't request, some of those may be some canned carrots and canned green beans. So we do have a few cases of such in our inventory currently due to those sorts of circumstances, but it is our program's preference to utilize frozen fruits, or should I say frozen vegetables when applicable. Other than fresh, we use, you know, a very large amount of fresh ingredients on a weekly basis as well.
Well, isn't the shelf life of canned goods like years and years?
Yes.
So,
And
hypothet-
raisins specifically, I know there was a little bit of an instance where the Department of Health brought in with regards because of date markings on our raisins, and he kind of chuckled because, you know, dehydration methods is one of the most ancient forms of preservation in what am I, what's the word I'm looking for? I apologize, but in civilization, a human civilization. So there's, you know, raisins aren't, you know, especially whenever they're packaged in 6-packs, cellophane wrapped. And so really the air's not hitting them again until you open those packages. So an item like that is, you know, good for a very long time. And a lot of these bomb shelters and sort of things that they engineer foods to have a shelf life in excess of 25 years. I would like, and I'm no expert in that area whatsoever, but I would like to think you're going to see some pastas, some rices, some canned goods, those sorts of items in that sort of sustainability model.
Martin, did you order any food yet?
All the orders have been before, I think the second week of April was my very last
And
opportunity.
how much of that came in?
Nothing yet.
So how much meat do we have up there right now?
It's hard to say off the top
Just
of my
the
head
inventory.
as far as value-wise, just in general. Just meat alone. In excess of $10,000 to $15,000. I'm just giving you an estimate. I mean,
So like, do we have 50 pounds of ground beef?
oh, we have far more than 50 pounds of frozen ground beef.
What about any other kind of meat?
Well, we have, there's some chicken fajita processed, well, it's processed in the essence that it's cut and seasoned chicken fajita meat, like with a value in excess of $100 a case. I believe we have over 20 cases of that available. That was items that had come in at the end of this year.
Cheese?
We're probably sitting on excess of 20 to 30 cases of cheese of different varieties.
And we have all this excess food because,
The commodity program being what it is, as I've explained
explain
many times in the past.
for the people at home and in the audience here, the commodity program.
Well, school districts are allocated X amount of funds based on a defined number of lunches they served 2 years prior. And then that, they have a USD has an equation that comes up with a monetary amount. You put in a request of, off of a shopping list, so to speak, of how many cases you want of each item, and it starts drawing down those funds. So you can spread it around, whether you want some frozen vegetables, there's even a fresh produce program, which we allocated excess of $25,000 into, with all the gray that was going on with our shelf life protocols that we were in the process of developing. Like the meats, cheeses, so, based on the menu cycle, based on current usage, you look at what you've gone through, where your menu cycle is, where you see it going, and then you try to make educated decisions based on what your current inventory is, what you're still expecting to come in. Keeping in mind, these items, the deadline, it starts in March, it's second week of April, I have to be done, and that's to request items for the 17-18 school year.
Did you
now
just say
have
you
no
have,
control. Go ahead.
just want to clarify, did you just say you have approximately a month, month and a half to purchase all the food for the entire year?
In the commodity program, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta try to come up with.
And it may not come in
decisions.
until like
You don't
April
you
of
have
the
no
next year.
control. You have no control as to when it comes available.
May
to you.
become available in April of the next year.
Correct. The only thing that's fixed is the price, and you request it, you're not even guaranteed to get what you ask for.
It's more of an order than a purchase, right?
What's that?
It's more of an order than a purchase, right?
It's
More
a,
of
it's
a
a
wish
request, yes. It's not a purchase. In the end, it has a monetary value associated with it based on the inventory value established by the USDA. And so we don't have control of when we're getting these items. We have no control whether or not items are canceled. And then they go to replace these items with hodgepodge, whatever they have in inventory to make available to you. It's my experience has taught me it's best 99% of the time just to take what's offered to you and try to find an application for it, because once you either take it or you leave it and you don't get offered anything else. So you're leaving, valuable financial assistance, and for lack of a better term, on the table to help, sustain the, the financial feasibility of.
So if you leave it, hypothetically, which you don't do this, but hypothetically, you don't want the turkeys that they offer you, but then the ground beef that you wanted doesn't come in, and you don't have anything to serve, where do you buy it?
You buy it through a wholesaler.
And it costs how much more?
Typically, probably 50 to 100% more depending on the market conditions. That's the beauty of the commodity program, is you're locking prices in.
So do you try to keep a little bit of extra food on hand because you know that that could happen? Some of your items may not come in.
Well, knowing that the inventory, there's nothing wrong with this food, if it's, kept frozen, maintained frozen, et cetera, yes. I told the situation of a couple years ago where, if a school district refuses an item, it goes into a big kitty, and then they put out an announcement. All the school districts in the Commonwealth have an opportunity to request what's on that list and bring those items in. What's nice about our facilities here at Gateway School District is we have a vast amount of storage space. So I took it upon the department to take advantage of that situation, and I brought in a lot of surplus of items into our program at a minimum investment for just the cost of freight to bring it in. I think I used the term $25,000, maybe $30,000 worth of inventory for about $2,500 in freight possibly. Those aren't, don't hold me to those exact figures, but those are guesstimations. So yes, I took advantage of that, trying to keep our bottom line in a positive direction, as you know, with the Peaser's situation with regards to personnel and that ever escalating financial restraint, not only on the school district as a whole, but our department also has to cope with those figures. It's becoming more and more difficult to manage a positive fiscal bottom line in the department.
Did the last administration's change in the mandatory menu items make it more hard to stay profitable?
Absolutely. There's the amount of snacks or a la carte type items we can offer the students has diminished significantly to the point where sales in our high school had dropped so much that when we had a job vacancy in that area, we did not replace the individual. because the volume wasn't there. So we're looking to allocate those youth resources in another area, primarily our breakfast program, which you learned tonight, we're looking to do some rather extensive modifications to at our high school.
Mr. Lorenzi, is it true that Gateway is the only school system that uses the commodity ordering, purchasing approach to buying food?
No, that's not correct. No, we all,
They all use
anybody who
that?
participates in the National School Lunch and Breakfast Program has the opportunity.
They all use the same approach?
You have the opportunity to do so. The fact that we have such extensive storage opportunity allows us to take more of an aggressive approach to those methods. Like, there's smaller districts, and that's what my background was before I had gotten here at Gateway. It gets to be the end of the year, and you need to, decide whether you're bringing your the remaining commodities in or not, or you start paying storage fees for them per case, per month, and it, escalates with time. Those districts have to make the decision what they're going to do, and typically what happens, they pick and choose what they're going to bring in, and they refuse everything else. Then that's what happens at the end of the year. Everything goes in that big, huge kitty, and the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture puts it out, an e-blast to the entire Commonwealth of an opportunity stating this is out there.
Reduce
put your request
price,
in,
jump on it, right.
and you have 30 days to bring it
An
in. That's one of the
right.
stipulations
Small
as
window,
well.
right.
You have a small window to order it, get it in, and they want to clear their warehouse is what they're looking to do.
All right,
So,
so
are you-
what I'm trying to
I'm
get
sorry,
to is an artificial minimum window for purchasing and retaining items helpful to what you and the other school districts in the United States do?
Would you mind repeating that question? I'm sorry.
Right.
I apologize.
So does an artificially designed protocol for disposing of purchased items help or hinder what you and the rest of the school districts in the United States do?
That sort of policy would be a significant hindrance.
Right, so,
I mean, I would have to suggest if it were to be enacted and we have tonnage of food that's going to be removed from our inventory, that, one, getting the Department of Agriculture involved, whether or not they're going to reallocate it. Two, if we are disposing of it, do we have the dumpster capacity to deal with it? Do we have the human resources to?
in Gateway School
physically move it?
District, we have no authority over the U.S. Department of Agriculture, do we?
Correct. They would first make the first decision as to what we're going to do with that food. They have to clear it with them
Right.
first.
So what I'm hearing you say, Martin, is that you're trying to take advantage of the good equipment that we
market.
have here, the cost of the market, take advantage for the
The flow.
benefit of the district's financial situation and the availability of food, and because you have space, so you're ordering, which is a kind of a reason of, which would answer why we have some food left over from last year. But your goal for doing that is because you have storage, you don't know if you're going to get everything, you want to make sure you have enough food for our kids, and you're trying to make business-conscious decisions to keep your department profitable.
And the
That's
students
an accurate
healthy.
statement.
And the students healthy, right.
That's our goal.
So what percentage of the food comes from the commodity program?
Well, the commodity program entitlement, I believe, we're looking at like $120,000 in value as a percentage of the total. I wish I had the inventory documentation with me, I can tell you everything. As the total purchases in the food. And when you got bread, you got milk, those all get lumped in the food. If I had to put a number on it, I would say it's probably 15 to 20%, and that's a complete guesstimation.
So 15 to 20% of all the food comes from the commodity program.
That's a guesstimation.
But there's stuff that's not included. Like if you would take away, how many commodity type foods? What's the percentage of that?
Well,
You know what I
commodity
mean?
type food.
Like you gotta take away the breads and milks and all, because that's.
Well, that's not a commodity.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Based on
The
this
commodity
program.
type foods, how much comes from the commodity market? Is a better,
I mean, I think the 15 to 20% is applicable, even though you could make the argument, well, pasta is a commodity, but if you're getting it from a wholesaler, you're not getting it at the commodity rate, whereas we tend to get all of our pasta from the commodity program at a much more economical price. We're talking probably about 50% less than what the market, at least this year, that's what struck me. That number is probably about 50% less. So as far as what comes available to us as an entitlement through the Department of Agriculture, I mean, I can get you a more precise figure to Mr. Schott if you'd like. I could look at those numbers very easily and give you something instead of relying on a guesstimation, which I would prefer to give you precise figures.
So just to be clear, the entire discussion this evening regarding how we get the food comes from the commodity program, which really only 15 to 20% of the food comes from the commodity program.
That's correct. I mean, we
Okay.
turn over a very large percentage of the food that comes in every week on a week or bi-weekly basis.
Okay.
It's the commodity items that are manufactured and packaged with the intent of it sitting in storage for a period of time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And if 20%, so a fifth, Stephanie has pointed out, if those costs were, I don't know, 50% to 100% more, that would obviously have a drastic change on the budget, correct?
Correct.
All right, so I have 3 last questions, and I'll be done. You believe that the 3-year policy is where we should stay? Is that an accurate statement?
That's what was recommended, yes.
Okay. Paul, as our business manager, you believe purchasing the same goods for 50 to 100% less that's a good business decision?
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Short, this is under board resolution, so I'm assuming this is not the recommendation of the administration. Is that accurate?
We were in favor of the 3-year at this point.
Okay, so not recommended by administration. Food service director who deals with food is against it. Business manager thinks it's a poor decision. We have absolutely no data to back it up. Hopefully this gets voted down. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks for the discussion, I appreciate it, but I would at this time just like to call a vote for putting this on for the 1 year for the frozen meats, the 6 months for the processed, pasteurized, and the 1 year for the canned goods.
Roll call, Bonnie?
Oh, is there a second, please? Is there a second?
We have a motion.
We have a
second.
motion. Mr. Nola?
No.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mr. Ritter?
I'm not sure how to vote because I'm not sure what would stand if I vote yea or nay.
No
Just-
means
No
it
means
doesn't
you-
go on display. Yes means this policy goes on display for 30 days.
The answer,
Do you like the 1 year or the 3-year, basically?
No.
Mr. Stubenbort?
No.
Mrs. Warning?
Yes?
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mrs. Byrne?
Yes.
Mrs. Cerrucci?
No.
Mr. Lapsevich? Mr. Lapsevich?
George?
Mr. George?
You there, George?
It's a time.
I think we
He might be on
those.
mute. Try again.
Mr.
George,
Laps,
you on mute?
Mr. Lapsevich, vote.
I can kind of hear him. I can't hear him.
So guys, what do we do in the event of a tie?
Hear the tie.
Motion dies.
Wait, Mr. President, let's try to contact him.
Yeah, I think that's what you should try to do.
George, are you
Mr.
there?
Lapsevich, are you
I
present?
can hear him.
He's saying something.
He might be trying to answer.
Mr. Lapsevich?
He's saying they're not answering. He can't hear.
Ask Micah to redial him or put him back on, okay?
You do it on a cell phone or a speaker?
Huh?
George?
So everything is working? Okay.
So we're out of time?
Motion to table.
Well, pick up the phone and then call him on the cell phone, because he's obviously here.
Is he on his cell phone?
Well, he's on this system, but
Micah,
He's yelling something.
did we
Yeah.
call him on his cell?
Sounds like a cell phone to me. I don't know for sure.
He says nobody's answering him. He's,
Short, George can give his vote.
No, sure.
Hello?
I can hear you, George.
we can hear you, George.
Mr. Short,
Yes.
you can hear me?
Yes.
I've been yelling with my stitches in my back. I thought they were gonna pop.
Don't hurt yourself.
What are we voting on? This green cheese stuff?
No, we're voting on the one-year policy.
This is a vote for Valerie's board resolution motion for 30-day public display for 1 year, meats and cheeses, pasteurized processed American cheese 6 months, and dry goods and pasta 6 months. Yes or no?
1 year.
Okay, can I have the vote count?
Right now it is
It's
4-4.
Yes, George is the deciding vote.
Everybody wanted to know where we got our evidence. My evidence was walking through this freezer 3 times in the
Yes or no?
last 4, 5, 6 months. Produce down here, which I know was limited enough, it was 5 or 6 years old, even
Yes or no?
stuff that was 3 years old had a mold on it. I refuse, as long as I'm on board, to serve any of my students mold. I don't serve my kids at home mold. I refuse to serve my students and my administrators mold in school.
So George,
So I approve the 6 months to the year.
So
It says yes.
your vote is for yes to put it on for 30-day display. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
thanks, George.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Was he on a phone or on our phone?
We put them on cell phone. Can I make a comment or no?
Let's move along.